This week on the Town Tailgate Podcast, big news coming out of Major League Baseball, Julio. They've decided to do a bubble for the playoffs. There's going to be one here in SoCal. Yeah, the bubble for you Beer Fest fans. One here in SoCal, then one in Texas. So a lot of games going on with the expanded playoffs of 16 teams. In one day, I think it's the 30th of September, there's going to be 8 playoff games. That's in one day. That's kind of cool, right, Julio?
That is pretty cool. But you know what's not cool is this last week in Oakland A's baseball. On top of the devastating injuries we've had to Matt Chapman and AJ
Brutal.
Puck, the A's have also been through the ringer this last week of one of the most difficult times any A's team ever has gone through, which includes multiple doubleheaders as well as horrible playing conditions in Seattle with the air quality over there.
Whole lot of smoke, Julio. Whole lot of smoke. Then we introduced a new segment called Know Your Enemy, where we kind of discuss let's just say a potential World Series opponent in the Dodgers. And we bring on one of your friends, right, Julio?
That's right. Bringing in a long friend of mine, Ronny Weyant. He's one of the bigger Dodger fans I know. He's going to be on here talking about the team, his kind of what he loves about the team, as well as like, hey, what are some potential ways the Oakland A's could beat that team? Little sneaky intro, little getting inside the crevices of the Dodgers there.
It's a good long conversation. I think you guys will definitely love it. He loves the Dodgers as much as we love the A's. And then we wrap it up with previewing the coming week and pick some Essential Tailgate Tools. So, tailgate time?
Hell yeah, man. Let's do it.
Let's go. So for the Bay Area residents, which, you know, a lot of you should know well enough, if you guys thought that the fire situation that you guys had going on was bad, let's just give you a little preview. The air quality that you guys have been dealing with, which is terrible, by the way, I'm not underplaying it, was around a AQI, which is Air Quality Index, for those of you who don't know, around a AQI of 100 to 150. The AQI for the Seattle Mariners versus Oakland A's game this past week was 200 plus, and they played baseball in that. So, Julio, how do the A's not all have cancer by now? Lung cancer. I mean, it's like they smoked 100 packs of cigarettes in one day.
I mean, if you're like Nikola Jokic, who already probably does smoke like a pack a day, he's used to it, but that's basketball. But I think the ongoing theme of this intro, as we talk more about it, is just Rob Manfred is just a jackass.
He's the worst. He's the worst. Welcome to the Town Tailgate Podcast, where we're talking about air quality. That was Julio Reynoso. He's flossing his teeth right now.
Because I floss so hard. Flossing. Shout out to Clips.
I am Chris Madrigal. Welcome back again, episode 9. Getting down the nitty-gritty, Julio. Getting down to the nitty-gritty. And we had a big announcement this week to start off our news around the league. The playoff picture was brought out with the schedule and the TV schedule and so on and so forth. Yeah. Pretty cool to see that, at least. Is it September, the day that has 8 games? September 30th and October 1st?
I believe so, yes.
I'm going to look it up while you talk, because you said you wanted to say something.
Yes, we're in debt, to quote Beer Fest, the bubble. There's going to be a playoff bubble. The American League teams will be playing in Southern California, which means they'll be playing at either Dodger Stadium at Petco Stadium, depending on your seating, with the American League Championship Series taking place in Petco. The National League teams will be playing in Texas with Houston as well as Arlington, with the National League Championship Series happening in Arlington, and then the World Series will be taking place this year in the brand new Charcoal Grill Stadium. I'm sorry, the Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas, is where the World Series will be taking place. Pretty interesting.
Do we know now if that's a pitcher ballpark or a hitter ballpark? We don't really know yet, do we?
Yeah, I haven't watched enough Ranger games to really figure out what's going on, but from the times I have watched A's games, they haven't really clobbered the crap out of the ball like they used to back in Arlington. I'd imagine because they have a roof now, it's going to kind of control the air a little bit more. But a couple things too. Also, there is a wild card round that's going to be a three-game series that will be happening at whoever the higher seed stadium or team is. So if the standings were to stay and the A's would be a 3 seed, they would be hosting 3 games in Oakland, which would be fantastic because they're a far superior team at home than they are away. Chris mentioned the playoff picture schedule in terms of TV. ALDS, ALCS will be on TBS. That's been like that for the last couple of years. NLDS as well as NLCS will be on Fox, with the World Series also being on Fox. So yay, Joe Buck. Even though I like Joe Buck, but
I'm a fan of Joe Buck, so
yeah,
fuck all
he's
you
good
others.
at the big game moments. But the biggest thing that stands out to me, I posted this on our Twitter account. We won't get too in depth with it because we might talk about it a little bit later. But the A's are, if they make it past the first round, the A's are in really good shape playing in pitchers parks, especially if they're just Dodger Stadium and Petco Park are notorious for being pitcher parks, and so is the Coliseum. This could be huge benefit for the A's if things 100%. Pan out that way.
So for those of you just continuing off of the playoff schedule conversation, so the playoffs start Tuesday, September 29th, which will be Game 1 of American League Wildcard Series. And then the National League Wildcard Series starts off Wednesday, September 30th. And on that day, so that's what I was talking to and leading to earlier, because the Wildcard Series is only 3 games, there's going to be 2 days where there's 8 playoff baseball games on in one day. So Wednesday, September 30th, and Thursday, October 1st, there will be 8 playoff games. Assuming that the American League wildcard game, let's say that maybe not all their teams go to 3 games, so maybe not. But for sure on Wednesday the 30th, there's going to be 8 games on. And those games are going to be split between ESPN and TBS. They haven't established which games are on which network yet, but you can catch those on ESPN and TBS. A lot of baseball, a lot of playoff baseball coming up.
Dude, you think about it even further, I think, look, this year has been awful. There's no cookie cutting around it. This year's been awful. But one, I got a PS5 today, so I'm pretty stoked. But
you ordered a PS5. You didn't
pre-ordered
get
PS5. Bless the gods. But 2, in the month of October, we're going to have the World Series, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup, full-fledged NFL season,
the Masters.
Wait, Masters next month or November? But either way.
Oh, no, you're right.
November.
It's in November. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure for those who do follow, WNBA Finals. All within the same month. So October has always been a pretty awesome month because, at least for me personally, I love the change to the fall and just playoff baseball and football in full swing, Halloween. Now we're going to have all that with it.
So can I tell the listener something for just sports fans in general? Look out for Tuesday, October 6th. That could potentially be the greatest day in the history of sports because that will be Game 2 of the American League Division Series. That'll be Game 1 of the National League Division Series. That'll be Game 7 of the Stanley Cup if it goes to 7 games. That will be Game 5 of the NBA Finals. And that will be...
and that'll be waiver day for fantasy football.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, maybe it's Monday. I think it's Monday Night Football too. So I think I think it's Monday the 5th. I think I have that date wrong. Sorry.
Wow.
Anyway, it's potentially the greatest day in the history of sports, and everything lines up. It's insane.
And again, there's a lot of exciting stuff. I know Chris and I have gone back and forth a lot on what the playoffs could be. So we're going to take this time to talk a little bit more about Rob Manfred, the scumbag of baseball, the commissioner of baseball. He made some news around the league over the last few days. One, he is saying that for the World Series, there is a possibility, because the state of Texas is allowing fans in attendance as long as ownership is okay with it, to be at the game. One, that's stupid, because if you're going to be having, you're going to have, look, let's be real with ourselves, the Astros aren't going to the World Series. You're going to have to make fans travel to go to a World Series game. That's stupid. That's extremely dangerous, and it's just them trying to recover their losses. What do you got?
And I think it's also because they saw what the positive feedback of the NFL, I think it was 6 stadiums this weekend allowed fans into it, in the success of the at least the success that the PR success of not the medical success of the Kansas City Thursday night football game. So they're just trying to jump on that hype, but it's just fucking stupid and irresponsible, and it's a classic just dirtbag move by him. He doesn't fucking care about the betterment of society. He's trying to make a quick buck. It's just, I mean, I could go on and on and on about the shitbag that he is, and just how he's worse than Roger Goodell at this point. But
by far.
It's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's just dumb, and it's irresponsible. And let's just say, even if the A's were in the World Series, I wouldn't go to that game. I just wouldn't. It's just.
And look,
the last thing I want to do is go to a sporting event during COVID.
Now, it's not necessarily, at least, I'm sure we're in the same boat. It's not that we don't trust ourselves. We would be taking all the precautions. It's everybody else, man. We saw how Kansas City was when they were last Thursday night, which was a great game. We're both extremely happy football's back. But it's really concerning to see so many fans still not wearing masks. And yes, they were social distancing, but it's how are you going to control that, man? And then especially in Texas, where it's going to be a closed-air stadium, it's not smart, Rob.
For those of you who think that the media is maybe overdoing it, I'm in Tampa, Florida right now as we speak. I'm recording this from Tampa because I'm here for work, and I've been out and about, and it's nothing has changed. They're just acting completely normal. They only put on masks when they have to, and it's super irresponsible. There's no wonder why Tampa is the hottest state, Florida is the hottest state in the country. It's bad. They're just completely ignoring it and oblivious to it, and Texas is one of those places. And you want to allow fans into a state like that. I get it because they're letting you do it, but just be socially responsible. It's just so. It's almost infuriating at this point, you know?
It just shows you just the scummery of baseball ownership for most of the part, because this was a vote.
It's about the buck.
Yeah, it's about the buck. And this kind of goes into the next leading topic. Chris and I have been going back and forth on this. There is speculation that Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball as a whole is looking to implement a 16-game playoff schedule, not just for this year, but going forward. They want to have 16 teams. Chris, I want to get your insight on this first.
You already know. We talked about it earlier. Yeah. I'm a fan of it. More playoff baseball sounds great to me. So, this is one thing that the NBA does so well, is they expand their playoffs to 2.5 months, and it's just their ratings are through the roof. And it's more exciting. It's more fun to watch these games. For me as an NBA fan, I'm a big, Julio knows, I'm a huge NBA fan. I don't really start seriously watching until Christmas. Before then, it's just all right, if there's nothing on during the week, I'll watch it. But I don't really care that much. For baseball, in the dog days of summer in June and July, it can be a little bit all right, they lost this week tonight, no big deal. It just kind of goes by the wayside, which is something that I really love about the 60-game season. Every game's so important, so I've been tuning in really closely. And the playoffs are only a month long for baseball. They need to extend this and make it more fun, play more meaningful games. There's so much more entertaining to watch. There's so much more unpredictable. Playoff baseball is my favorite sporting time of the year. I just love it because obviously I'm a huge baseball fan, but just the intensity of the games and whatnot. I'm all for it. And like today was a great example. I was texting Julio. I was watching the Phillies Mets game, and the Mets are 21-24, which like whatever, but they're still only 2 games behind the Giants for the 8 seed in the NL. So it's like a really intense game. And the Phillies are the 7 seed, so they're barely holding on. They're 2.5 games ahead of the Mets. So it's like a really intense game. And it was a lot of fun to watch. I'm not a fan of either of those teams. I'm still watching and still like engaged. Julio, how do you feel?
Look, I'm in the boat that we need to fix this playoff picture because it's true. Like, it's to kind of go back to the topic of fantasy football. Chris and I are co-commissioners.
It's that time of year.
Yeah, hey-o. Chris and I are commissioners in a dynasty football league where in the last 5 weeks this season, usually if you're out of it, you don't care. We have an extra incentive. If your team is the highest scoring week, has the highest scoring team that week, you get a payout incentive. So it makes people pay attention. Yeah. And so I do get why you want a 16-team playoff and to keep teams competitive, to make sure that everybody's going in there. But we're going to run into this problem where we have a lot of talk with this, especially with the NBA at the last couple of days. What happens when your higher seeded big market team gets knocked out in the first round? And the reason I talk about this is because, of course, the Clippers choked. We're going to take the second to say that shit's hilarious. As fans of a team who've blown a 3-1 lead, it's great to be on this side, and I'm so happy it's the Clippers because they suck.
I get that those markets, like, they're upset, but, like, it's just for the ones who are out of the market, it's so much more fun to watch, though,
exactly.
Julio.
No, and that's the point, or I understand that point, but it's like, we know how much pull those ownership groups have, and when it comes to New York, especially now that we didn't talk about this much, but the Mets got a new owner, and he put in the biggest bid in professional sports history in the North America to win the team with Steve Cohen. But we know how much pull that's going to be. They're going to love that this idea of like expanding to more teams and more teams can get in there until it's going to backfire and eat them in the ass. And then because watch, don't be shocked. We will talk about it with my next guest later, but don't be shocked if the Dodgers get knocked out by the Reds or the Giants in the opening round, and boom, there goes your big
But
market.
at the same time, for me, I think that's a lame excuse to blame the system. But like, if you're this good of a team and you've been building so much, like in the offseason for this, like you should be built to handle any situation if you're that good.
And I think, but we know how spontaneous baseball is too. I think the only other sport you can really compare it to is hockey. Whereas there's been 2 8 seeds upsetting a 1 seed in basketball. So we believe Warriors, and then the Knicks in '99, which was a strikeout or a strike shortened season. So it's not a common thing. But with baseball, if that happens, how many times has a wild card team in the last 10 years alone have advanced to the World Series? Which is, again, as a fan, that's hella exciting. I think that's awesome. But as like a longevity thing, especially from owner's sake, whereas like if you're the team that's going to hit the brunt of it as a high market team, that's going to suck for them. And we know how much control they have.
I don't know. For me, it's like the complaints of a privileged man. Like it's like white privilege complaining that shit's not fair.
Well, that's baseball ownership.
I don't have any sympathy for if the Dodgers get knocked out the first round. Like I just don't have any sympathy. Like this is what you guys like pay so much money for in the offseason. And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing. The no-hitter that no one saw.
Chris thought of that too. I loved the
It's so all right, so the Cubs pitcher
Alec
Mills threw a no-hitter on Sunday. It was great. No hits, 9 innings, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. But it happened to be the first weekend of football, which in any other year, the opening weekend of football is a big deal. Everybody's watching. No one's paying attention to any other sport. But especially in a COVID year when people didn't even think a season was going to happen and people are kind of down their luck, and there's more football fans in this country than any other thing. Everybody I knew was watching that. And there was an NBA playoff game this past weekend, and like I got shit from all my friends for like commenting about it because I was like flipping back and forth. So unfortunate that the second no-hitter of the season, probably the only other no-hitter of the season, happened and no one saw it, but it happened. So congrats to you, Alex Mills. Great job by you, Alex. But I don't know. What are you? Go ahead.
It sucks because this is actually if you haven't had a chance to kind of see more of his backstory and where he's been, it's a fantastic story. He was a college walk-on. He got no scholarships, nothing, and he played at University of Tennessee at Martin as a walk-on. He got drafted in the 22nd round by the Royals. Nothing. He pitched in 2016 for a short time until he got DFA'd. So this guy's a
journeyman pitcher. Yeah.
It's
impressive.
He hasn't gone there yet, but he's going to be a journeyman pitcher. So the fact that after all that, he goes out and throws a no-hitter, and this should have been like the leading news in SportsCenter and all that great stuff, but unfortunately, you ran into the behemoth that is the start of NFL during the COVID world, and it sucks. But it's pretty cool. 74 of his 114 pitches were for strikes, which is pretty insane. Especially like the Brewers aren't great this year, but they're usually a high-powered offense.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I'll say about him, again, congrats. This is going to be something he'll never forget. Will be passed around for generations in his family. When you get a chance, please go look at his picture on Wikipedia.
Why?
Chris, go look at it so you can just see what I'm talking about.
I am right now.
Got this stank face, just looking this very "what are you looking at" face in this picture.
There's an Alex Mills artist, by the way.
Alec Mills.
Okay, I was about to say Alec Mills. See, I don't even know his name. That's because no one's
again. It's like when Lucas Giolito. We know who he is because he was one of the better pitchers last year. He's an all-star.
Oh my God, this is the greatest picture I've ever seen in my life.
Fantastic.
This is so great. He looks like he just wants to he's just so upset with you. Like anytime I do something wrong, I'm gonna look at this picture because it's gonna remind me, like I can be better.
He looks like he just spit some chew into his bottle, and the camera caught him, and he's like, "You're not gonna tell my family, right?" He's like, "Shit!" It's like, "Hey, don't tell my wife."
That was one of the greatest analogies I've ever heard in my life. Guys, I mean, listeners, you got to go look at this picture. It's pretty. it's dead on what Julio just said. It's just so on point.
You're not gonna post that.
Just the amount of disappointment on his face is
This poor guy just threw a no-hitter.
I know.
The best moment of his life.
I'm starting to tear up.
Whatever, top it. And he just looks like so, oh God.
Whoever put that up there, you're a legend.
I hope they don't change it.
I want to buy you a beer.
I hope they don't change it.
Anyway.
Let's end on that note.
Alec Mills, congratulations. I'm sorry that no one saw your no-hitter, but the town tailgate acknowledges you, and we respect you. All right, let's go into.
We won't tell your wife you were chewing.
Yeah. All right. So let's recap the past week. So the final game of the Astros series on Thursday the 10th. The A's won 3-1 on Friday against the Rangers, starting the Rangers series from Friday to Sunday. On the 11th, the A's won 10-6. The doubleheader on Saturday, the A's lost the first game 2-5, but then they had an insane comeback win the next game and just embarrassed the Texas Rangers 10-1. And then they lost the next day 3-6. That was the No, I'm thinking a different game. Sorry. And then on Monday, had a doubleheader against the Seattle Mariners. They lost the first game 5-6, and then destroyed them 9-0. And then Tuesday against the Rockies, lost 1-3. And then on today, Wednesday, or yesterday for the listeners, the 16th, they won 3-1. So, what a fucking weird week, dude. I mean, we got 10-6, then we got 10-1, and then we got 9-0, and then we have losing by 1 run, losing by 3 runs, losing by 1 run, losing by 2 runs. It's just, what the fuck is going on?
The A's just were put through the ringer. It's something it's been repeated a lot throughout a lot of the beat reporters today. This was their 16th game in a row. They finally have tomorrow off, so thank God they need it. Throughout that time, they went 9-7. And considering there was multiple doubleheaders, considering we'll talk a little bit more about the injuries, they lost multiple key players' injuries, and we have in their game in Seattle, their doubleheader on Monday, where we kind of hinted at the beginning, outrageous air quality due to the fires throughout the whole West Coast right now.
They shouldn't have been playing. Like, I get that they have to get that series in, but, like, I mean, Jake Diekman tweeted about it, rightfully so. Like, where is, like, there's just no sympathy and there's no, like, accountability from Major League Baseball in the front office of up there. It's ridiculous.
Jesus Luzardo on his post game on Monday straight up is like, I'm 22 years old. I had problems breathing when I was out there, and we probably take it with a grain of salt because he did have COVID, but we don't know how hard it really affected him.
So he shouldn't even be out there it's even worse.
Now Susan Slusser, again the GOAT of A's beat writers, she had said, because she was one of the people who was really against them even playing, like, this is over 200, like over 200 is extremely unhealthy. Southern California right now, we're at 160. The Bay Area, Chris mentioned at the opening, it was at the same levels.
It's at 60 now. It's passed over, but it was at 150, which is, like, very bad.
Yeah, and there were over 200. Like, that's not okay. And I guess one reason the game did happen is Major League Baseball does not have a kind of threshold set up when it comes to when an AQI hits one level, should it stop? Which is bad.
But hold on, Julio. Well, why do you have to have that? Like, all you have to do is look at listen to scientists, look at the data, literally just watch the game. If any of you were watching the game, you could see it. It was cloudy as fuck. You could barely see the ball in the camera. Like, why do you need a set rule in place in order to make that decision? Why?
Like, Piscotty should have caught that ball in right field. He ended up knocking it over the fence and on the first game on Monday. And he lost it. If it was a clear sky, he easily should have been able to catch that. He's a good enough defender where he's able to pick it up. But it's ridiculous. It's
a joke.
It's so irresponsible. It just shows you how incompetent Rob Manfred is. We've already known this for a long time, especially with this lockout with COVID, and how he came out and said, we're going to have a 60-game schedule no matter what. Now you're putting a whole, especially somebody like Jake Diekman, who is already a high-risk player going into this. Shouldn't have been pitching this season because of his own personal health concerns. And he's out there and you put him in danger. Jesus Luzardo, somebody who had COVID and is already in danger. You put the rest of the coaching staff or the Mariners and the A's in danger. And then guess what? World Series, we want to have fans. Rob, what the hell is your problem, man?
It's just... All right. We're going to move on. I'm done with it.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
He doesn't deserve our attention.
It doesn't. It's just... and it goes... Even on yesterday's game on Tuesday, some of the players for the A's were like, and the A's lost. They didn't look good at all. And they're like, we still felt like shit from the Monday game.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, man? What do you get? Oh, God, okay. Yeah,
we don't want to talk too much. It's never any incompetence by him. Anyway.
Let's talk about more sad news for the A's.
Yeah, so the A's had a shit ton of injuries this past week. Matt Chapman with a hip injury. He apparently is a lot worse than he expected. He's going to have surgery. He's out for the season, including the playoffs. It's going to be 4-month recovery after he has a surgery, which I believe he had this week. Chad Pinder out until at least the postseason. It sounds like he's going to be back for round 1. Little minor injury, just a hamstring strain, but to be safe, they're going to keep him out, and he'll be ready to go. Probably see him at shortstop in that first game. AJ Puck shut down for the season with a shoulder injury. We've talked about him a lot in this podcast. We keep on saying he's coming around the corner. He's not. It's just more bad news. And then finally, Steven Piscotty. Luckily, again, this is another minor injury, just in right knee strain. He's going to be out just like a week, but he'll be back just right before the playoffs. So, thank God. Julio, I don't know. Who do you want to start with? You want to start with Chapman? Or do you want to start with Puck?
I don't want to start anywhere, man. This is all like it's.
But look, dude. Luckily, I mean, we made the signing of Tommy Stella, huge signing.
The
trade. Sorry. We have Tony Kemp, and we just made the signing of Jake Lom. Literally like an hour after the game, after it was announced that Chappie was going down. I think they signed Jake Lom. I remember you texting me, and we were like talking about it all day. Like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Like Chad Pinder's out too. Like, what are they gonna do? And then an hour later, they just signed Jake Lom, who's been crushing it lately. Yeah. But I mean, he's still no Matt Chapman.
No. I think when we're gonna probably talk a little bit more about Jake Lom. I think he's Lamb.
Is it Lamb? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Lamb. I'm pretty sure it's Lamb.
I'm gonna say Lom, and then we cover all of our bases.
There we go. We're a democratic podcast. But yeah, Chappie, okay, so it doesn't sound like it's going to be a long-term deal. It's a 4-month recovery. So in a perfect world, or not necessarily a perfect world, but as long as he's rehabbing and there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to, he'll be back by start of spring training.
Back for the spring. But yeah. At the same time, Julio, when you lose, I don't care even if it's baseball or not. I know baseball is a collective sport.
Yeah.
I think the Angels are a product of that. They have the best player in baseball. They've made the playoffs one time with Mike Trout there. When you lose your best player, top 10 player in the league, it still impacts and it hurts. You know what I mean?
No, and well, I as much as I love Matt Chapman, I think he's probably my favorite player on the team right now. Defensively, obviously, top 10 player. Or he's the best defensive player in baseball, easily. But offensively, I don't think he was at a top 10 level. And
I mean, he's still hitting a lot of home runs.
Oh, well, yeah. But so is Matt Olson, and he's bordering Mendoza line. But one of the points, when Chris and I were talking about it the other day, one of the points I was, and 3 other A's fans, was as much as I hate to lose Matt Chapman because he's a rock and nothing will get past him at third, is kind of like very hot takey of me. I'd rather lose him than to lose a Matt Olson defensively at first. Because
he impacts more plays than Matt Chapman does.
Exactly. We don't know how many plays and throws over the last couple seasons that should have been an error on Chapman that Matt Olson has bailed him out on. Mm-hmm. Or same thing with Marcus, same thing at the collective of second basemen we've had over these last couple years. So, and the one of the things I was trying to make with the Jake Lamb signing, and I brought this up in our Twitter account as well, was offensively, it's more if Jake Lamb was a former All-Star. He has not been good at the Diamondbacks this year, but then again, nobody has been good at the Diamondbacks this year.
Yeah, he was a building block for that team a couple years ago. Him, Pollock, all those guys.
Yeah.
Those young dudes.
If he can be what Chappie was already offensively at the season, which was kind of middle of the pack, then hell, we'll take it. We're going to miss the glove, obviously. And if we make a playoff push, it's going to suck not to have Matt Chapman there. But that's just kind of the reality we have to deal with right now.
But realistically, all we need to do is buy time until Chad Pinder comes back. That's realistic. Like, that's I guess you could say, like a best case scenario, Jake Lom is a form of himself 3 years ago, and he's killing it with the bat. He's fine defensively, gets the job done. But realistically, he's a placeholder until Chad Pinder's healthy. That's really the reality situation. And then it's going to be Pinder the rest of the season at third. And it's mostly because, and me and you texted about this. It's mostly because of the chemistry and the repertoire that Chad Pinder's created with that infield over the past 4 seasons.
No, absolutely.
I think Marcus feels a lot more comfortable with Chad to his right than he does with Jake Lom because of familiarity, and he knows what he gets out of how much ground he needs to cover. He knows what he gets out of Chad Pinder, so on and so forth.
Yeah, especially in playoff series.
I personally do too. Yeah,
No, that's a pretty good. You make a good point. I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
If there's any positives out of this, Chad Pinder just recently became a father, so he got to spend a little extra time with his
That's good.
kid.
Yeah.
And also, shout out. We don't really acknowledge this stuff too often. Shout out to Frank and Montas and his wife. They just had a child, so congratulations.
Congratulations, boys.
But last but not least, we should AJ Puck, man.
So we talked about this off air too. What do you think, man? Do you think his future's at a starter? I think he's going to be the closer because I just don't think that he's going to have the longevity of putting as many innings on his arm as a starter anymore. Like, this is the second time that he's had a major surgery on that arm, and I'm worried. I just don't think that starting pitching is cut out for him.
It's
unfortunate, but I think it's a fact of the reality.
It sucks because let's be real, in a healthy season, if he was actually there from the get-go, we would have won the division a week ago, 2 weeks ago, because we know how good he can be. We saw when he was lighting up spring training in 18. Maybe just starting isn't in his future. Maybe he can be kind of a long reliever kind of guy. We've seen.
I think he's a closer, man. I think his stuff kind of
closer.
His stuff's kind of built as a closer. He's got that high velocity fastball and that just killer slider that just kind of like changes it up on you. The
only problem is, so we've talked about this a lot, but Liam Hendriks is going to be a free agent. More than likely, he's gone. It sucks. We have some guys who are going to be lined up who could become the future closer of the A's, at least for the next year or two. More specifically, I can see Jake Diekman becoming our closer, Lou Trevino, JP Wendelken.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to put his stuff in there at spring training and enter him in the closer role, he could be like the favorite to win that. Even stuff alone, he should be the favorite to win.
Yeah. He would be the favorite in youth and in consistency and his just his contract status alone, because you kind of want someone who's a little bit more, you want some more well, I already used that word, but again, consistency at that role. So that way who your closer is for the next 5 seasons. Like, I think he would win. I think he would win that, definitely.
Yeah, and
we have guys who can fill in the rotation.
Yeah, especially we've been seeing Grant Holmes is one of our guys he pitched on Saturday. Oh my God, I feel like let's be real. We have so many pitching prospects that I'm losing track.
We've also had so many games in the past week that I'm losing track of which fucking games are
It's getting complicated now, man. I'll be real with you.
Yeah.
It's between this and
they're all blurring.
Between this, the COVID world, the elections going on, the fires, it's so hard to keep up with the thing we really, really care about. But
I'm gonna look it up while you go, though. Keep going.
No, yeah, but we do have the potential, or we do have our rotation, at least for next year, will be set in place. Fires will probably be gone, but we're gonna have Bassett, Luzardo, Minaya there for sure. Mike Minor will be a free agent. But do we know how much the A's love bringing in their one-year starters kind of guy? So if somebody like a James Caprillion, they can see bringing up to the rotation. Grant Holmes, if we bring up to the rotation, we can kind of fill those guys until they're ready. But we have to start. I think the front office expectations is they have to prepare for the future of the rotation without Puck.
Yeah, I think that's the best move, at least. I can't find it, by the way. Speaking of Matt Minor, we should bring up that he pitched. It was a 7-inning. Oh, whoops. Anyway, so I got Grant Holmes here actually, so that's a pretty good segue. Oh my God, he's got some insane hair. Anyway, he pitched on, let's see,
Saturday, and he got lit up.
Yeah, but still, it was nice to see him. He's been in our minor league system ever since the Rich Hill trade. So, also, Dalton Jeffries didn't pitch too well either. But
Dalton Jeffries, thank you. Oh my God, that's what I meant to be talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Totally missed on that one. I was busy researching while you were doing that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
We have potential. There's
especially for a number 5 starter because we have our 4 locked in.
I didn't even mention Frankie. So we're like rotation in the future, as long as things go right.
We have 4 that are locked in. Frankie, Jesus, Bassett, and Manaea. All those guys are locked up for at least till 2024. 2023. So we have our starting rotation for at least 2 more years. So it's just about finding that 5th guy and making sure that it's worth it. And
we have a crapshoot of guys we can use right now. So
exactly. And we don't have a closer next season, realistically, knowing the A's. We don't have a closer, at least.
And finally, last but not least, with A's news, Jake Lamb. We already talked about him. A's signed him off of waivers from the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was not putting together a good season at all with the Diamondbacks. He was below the Mendoza line. We've already talked about the Diamondbacks have not been a good team at all since they've I can't remember if we talked about this on air or off air anymore, but they're probably the biggest disappointment in baseball. Just judging how well they've been, they were last year. Picked up Jake Lamb as a substitution for Matt Chapman, and over the last week, he's been pretty good. Mm-hmm. So far he's only played 2 games.
He's been not just pretty good, he's been fucking killing it, dude.
Yeah, again, we can't really measure this out for too much. He's only played 2 games.
Yeah.
8 appearances. He's batting .429 as of Wednesday.
Yeah.
If you're
very serviceable.
Yeah, they're going to be using him a lot at third base. He'll be taking over for DH if Chris Davis isn't going to be ready for the lineup. I know I was kind of offhandedly making the jokes that we should just try to make a move at Pablo Sandoval for shits and giggles because of the championship experience.
He was not just slightly making the move. He was texting me all day about it after
I
the
thought
Chappie
it was
injury.
Funny.
He was pissing me off with it. That's how much he was bothering me about it.
Pablo ends up going to the Braves, so best luck over there. But yeah, anything else you want to add to Jake Lamb? I love one thing too. Whenever he gets a hit, the bullpen has been
that's so
like
cool.
Lamb, so
that's just the Oakland A's. That's what
exactly.
it is. That's the A's for you. No, I mean he's been impressive. I was kind of like meh when it first happened, but again, as long as he gets the job done until Pinder comes back, I'm happy. You know. So yeah, cool. The A's magic number right now is 4 for the American League West. After tonight's game, Wednesday the 17th. 3 for the postseason, but let's be realistic, the Astros suck, so we're probably going to clinch that. It's just a matter of the seeding, which I kind of like our number 3 seed right now, so I kind of hope they stay there. I'd rather play the Astros round 1 than play... Actually, no, it's the Blue Jays at number 7 now, so maybe that would be an interesting matchup. The Yankees won. They moved up to the number 2
that's right.
East spot, so now the Blue Jays move into the wild card. I don't know.
I'm nervous, man. I'm just so nervous as like an A's fan at the expectations of the postseason.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our recap. Essential Tools. You want to go ahead and do it for Tyler?
Yeah. So Tyler Mack, our guest last week, her Essential Tailgate Tool of the Week was Chris Davis. He had 9 at-bats. He hit .333, 1 RBI, couple walks. Not Not bad. Not bad. I mean, he didn't do exactly what Tyler kind of hoped. Like she kind of like said like he needs to kind of like step up and pick it up and with the injuries and whatnot. But you know, it's serviceable. He's getting there. He's getting there. You know, it's a work in progress.
No, it's I think if anybody's really been hit hard with this weird season, it's been him.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It the fact that he wasn't even throughout his struggles last year, he was pretty much an everyday fielder, and he's not. So
yeah,
weird season. How was your pick with Marcus?
My pick was a combination of jokes. So Julio gave me shit because he wanted me to pick Tommy La Stella, and then I decided not to because Tommy La Stella was playing a lot better than I thought he was. So my joking pick was the entire team except for Tommy La Stella. But it actually was Marcus Semien. I said that beforehand. And he's been fucking killing it. He's been doing everything I said. He's been stepping up big time, especially with the Matt Chapman injury, especially with Olsen struggling, especially with Stephen Piscotty being hurt for the time being. It's really important that he, as the captain of the team, he takes over. He brings that presence in the lineup. He has that MVP style flavor and just, leads the team to a hot end of the season to go into the postseason, and he's been doing it. Hit 264 this past week, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. Ooh, stole a base. That's a fun stat, Julio. Good job putting that one in. Hey. And he walked 8 times. Look at that. Good shit. So he's been great, and I've been really happy with that. I don't know. He's not leading off lately. Do you think that's part of it?
Yeah, maybe just not having to deal with the pressure of like setting the table has been easing him up a little bit, and
he's always kind of thrived in that, though.
Yeah, but again, this is just such a weird year that maybe giving him the easing of the pressure. The guy is probably going through so much pressure alone with it being a contract year for him. Yeah. That maybe this might be the thing that really helps him out. So, yeah, he's really bounced back after kind of a slow start. And
contract year or not, he's gonna get that contract. Someone's gonna pay him. It's a fact. I hope it's us, but someone's gonna pay him. He did lead off today though. He had 1 hit. But that's because dramatic change in roster situations today because of all the injuries. Bob Melvin's trying to like find different things out. So, but La Stella's been leading off, which is pretty cool. But today he hit 3rd, which is great.
La Stella.
Julio, what was yours?
Added a Pac-Mac.
That's right.
Average, not great. He hit 212, 5 home. 5. Wait, is that right? 5 home runs? Did I get that right?
I don't think you got that right.
No, I think he hit like 1 or 2 home runs, but yeah, 5 RBIs. He had a steal and 3 walks. My goal was to say, hey, he's pretty much taking Matt Chapman's production, which he kind of did.
I mean, in theory.
In theory, he did. He didn't look great against Seattle and as well as Colorado, but I think both the team didn't. We're very high standards for the last few years of how the team has been. I think this last week should be the time where we're like, all right, well, we should be able to go easy and sponge out everything that's happened, considering all the travel they've had to do, considering the conditions they've had to play in, considering the double headers. For most of the part, I think he did his job. The rest of the season, he's done pretty good. He didn't have the best week this last week, but
he's just not walking as much, which is kind of weird. I feel like he's reaching a little, or he's searching a little bit too much. So I don't know. That's one concern for me, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him. To be honest, I think as the team as a whole, I'm not really too worried. Just because I think
guys
this
step up.
Such a weird week. Like, I don't think any A's team has had to gone through what this team has done in the last week. So for people, and let's be real, now that we have this Twitter account and we're seeing what we're following, a lot of A's fans, and we really appreciate the followership. I'm seeing a lot of people talking mad shit on this team right now. I'd like to see any other team, it doesn't matter who they are, whether their talent, go through what this team has had to do in this last week.
I agree.
And still come out 9-7 after 16 straight days. Yeah. So it shows a lot of resilience. I think it shows a lot of toughness in this team that even despite all that, they still got a winning record.
Yeah.
It wasn't nice. Not every win's going to be a blowout or a gem, but we'll take it. We'll take it, especially.
And the rotation has really kept it together. And I mean, the bullpen's been more or less pitching well. They had a couple of bad games, but the rotation has really been keeping it together and pitching really well. Manaea is still hot, still really riding off that hot streak. Luzardo had a little rough outing the other day. Montas had a little bit of rough outing as well, but they kind of bounced back. Bassett's been again the most consistent pitcher in the starting rotation.
Just keep patting yourself on the back.
Hey,
I know that's what you want to do.
When I see it, I see it. And Mike Fiers has stepped up huge. He's been a lot better.
Look, yeah, I owe him an apology because I kind of shit on him on our Twitter, just saying that like he's pitching in Coors, and then he pitched great today. So great job, Mike.
So yeah, and that's that. All right, Julio, who's your player of the week?
I'd like to quote the lyric from the California funk rock band Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that is, it's just a minor thing, and I'm a minor king. I'm going Mike Minor.
He put the team on his back, dude.
We, a lot of fans, a lot of people have been shitting on this pickup of making this trade for him.
Yeah.
He got lit up by the Astros. He got lit up by the Padres. He has not looked good. And what does he do against Seattle amidst a doubleheader, awful playing conditions, all these games in a row? He throws a 7-inning complete game shutout.
Mm-hmm.
He had a one-hitter through 7 innings. He gave up another.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he gave up another hit after that, so it's two-hitter, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Please apologize to this man, A's Nation, who's been given a hard time, because when this guy is on, he's really good. So
he literally did the definition of putting the team on his back. He literally did that. He literally did that.
Put the team on his back.
He gave up no runs in a complete inning or a complete game pitching situation. He put the team on his back. Like if you don't get player of the week by that, like then I don't know what you got to do to get player of the week. So if you didn't pick him, I would have picked him out of just
and the
respect.
From day one, he's and multiple times there. Bob Melvin's have been speaking out, like saying like, he's like, Mike has been excited to be here. It doesn't matter where you throw him. Put him in the bullpen. Put him in the start of game. Look what he's done. Look what he did that game against. And I know we all crap on Seattle. Seattle's not too far from a playoff picture.
Still on the playoff hunt.
Yep. Kyle Lewis is probably going to be the rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Marco Gonzalez has been really good this year as a pitcher. They're not a bad team. So to see him do that, kudos. I'm really happy for Mike.
We didn't really give up much to get him. So it's like,
bingo.
There's no reason to be upset about that. All right, so my player of the week is, I told Julio before this, I was like, I'm picking the obvious one. So dibs. Tommy La Stella. He just continues to be just a La Stella. And he just sorry, I had to do that. I mean, there's a reason why Bob Melvin moved him to number 3 in the lineup. He was 2 for 4 today. He's hitting 282. He's consistently just hitting, and he's consistently getting guys on, or getting on and getting home, and it's just great. I just love it, and it was a great pickup. And I was telling Julio before the show started, kind of in our pre-show little meeting, and I was like, what if? I mean, probably not, but just what if the A's decided to sign him to like a 2 or 3 year deal if he'd be down for it, like a 2-3 year, $8 million deal? That'd be so great. That'd be so ideal. We'd have the best infield in baseball for the next 3 years. It'd be so much fun. Well, hoping that they re-sign Marcus, but it'd be so. I love having him be an A. I hope he continues to.
I wish I hated something as much as he hates striking out, because he hasn't struck out yet as an Oakland A's.
It's great. That's fantastic.
It's insane. It's bound to happen, but that's just wild.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with a very fun special segment. We're going to cover another team in Major League Baseball, not ours, with a special guest. I think you guys will really enjoy it. It's a team that we are playing this coming week, and potentially a World Series preview, Julio, if we make it that far and if they do. So stick around, and we will be right back.
And we're back from our break from the town tailgate. This week,
we are back.
Yep, we are back. The backest we can be. This week, we have a new segment. It's called Know Your Enemy. This coming week, we're playing against the best team in baseball right now, as well as a perennial World Series contender, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Can I just say one thing before you go into that? This is not a reference to the Green Day song that was trash back in 2009. Just want to make sure
this is a reference. That song sucked. This is a reference to the Rage Against the Machine song from 1992.
Boom.
That's right. Fuck you, Chris. I won't do what you tell me. Anyways, we thought we'd bring on a guest who can educate us a little bit more. So I've brought on a good friend of mine, known him for a long time, one of the bigger Dodger fans I know, Mr. Ronny Weyant. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Ronny.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Oh, it's a lot of ups and downs as A's fans because, we go on these hot streaks where it's like, cool, we'll win like 8 straight games and then we'll drop 4 in a row and then we'll lose like 4 out of our last, or we'll lose like 6 out of our last 10. And it's just like it's just a constant roller coaster. We're not as dominant as you guys are. We haven't clinched the playoffs like you guys did today.
Woo!
There's a couple reasons why I wanted to bring Ronny on here. One, Ronny is probably one of the more educated baseball fans I know, and somebody who can, especially with the Dodgers, he can actually speak pretty well on it, and he can kind of break down the team a little bit more. I know Ronny grew up in the Rancho Cucamonga area, so I know he grew up going to a lot of AAA games out there or minor league games.
Time out. I have a question. Do you know the Workaholics?
Yes, I know them all. Met them all. I'm sad that show was not shot in Rancho Cucamonga.
It was
they
not.
Just used our name.
It was not. It was shot in Van Nuys. Yeah, that's what
they smeared the good name of Rancho Cucamonga.
You never lived next to Ice Cube when he was there in Next Friday.
No, just Snoop Dogg in real life.
Blake Anderson, Oakland A's fan, by the way.
But the other reason, too, I wanted to bring on here is you're also one of the Dodger fans I know that doesn't have a criminal record, so make sure you didn't get in trouble.
You just don't know it yet. It's there.
That's true.
It's white-collar crime. It's fine.
What'd you get busted for?
I never evade my taxes, so it wasn't that. So yeah, don't look into that. It definitely wasn't tax evasion. I can't tell you what it was, but not tax evasion.
So we have to guess.
All
right, we'll do research over the course of the show.
Yeah. I'll drop hints through the podcast.
It rhymes with schman schmotter.
Yeah.
Oh God.
All right. Again, Ronny, welcome. So next week, if you A's fans don't know, again, A's Dodgers are playing. This is the only series they were playing throughout this whole crazy West teams only season. They'll be playing next week, starting on September. Let me make sure I got this right. September 22nd for a 3-game series. So before we jump in a little bit further with the series and the Dodgers, how they're doing this season, want to get to know a little bit more about you with your fandom. First and foremost, how did you become a Dodger fan? You're from Southern California, so that's obvious. But is there anything else that kind of got you into them?
There was no choice from birth. There's.
Well, I mean, there was the Angels, so there is a choice.
No, not my family. There was not a choice. And the Angels are barely a choice. I feel bad. My roommate is an Angel fan and a Chargers fan, and I don't know why he would ever choose that life. But yeah, there's pictures of me. I went home in a Dodgers onesie or wrapping. There's the first pictures of me as a baby are as a Dodger fan. My dad likes to say that the first word I ever said was "Go Dodgers." That's probably true. I can't say that wasn't. And then growing up, it was just as far as Major League was concerned, because as Julio mentioned earlier, I went to a lot of minor league games in Rancho Cucamonga, and I also worked for that minor league team for 6-7 years.
What'd you do for them?
So I was a bat boy.
No way. That's so cool.
For that team, they were the Angels minor league team at the time. Now they're the Dodgers, which is is great. But yeah, I was a minor league bat boy for the Angels organization, and then so as a kid, the Dodger Stadium was. I mean, my dad being a Dodger fan, we never even thought about going to Angel Stadium. We went to Dodger Stadium. My dad had season tickets right down the first base line for a really long time before the renovations, and then it just kind of stuck from there. So I don't know. It was never really like I'm a Dodgers fan. It was just I root for the Dodgers. It was just
it was there. Like you were born. You don't know anything different. It's just like it is who. It's a part of you as like the hair on your head type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's pretty, and it's kind of similar to our stories too, because both of us were kind of grew up in like you're an A's fan. There's really nothing else kind of thing. Tangent. Before we go into the next question, is there any notable players that you were like around when you were a bat boy?
Kendra Morales, Howie Kendrick. Howie Kendrick's actually one of the nicest people that I've ever met. Alongside Torrey Hunter when he came in rehab, he didn't like play for that, but he came in rehabbed a lot. Mark Trumbo, not a great guy. I'll say that. Not cool. Not a Mark Trumbo fan. No offense.
He doesn't seem like that cool in the first place, so you're not blowing my mind with that.
Yeah, and I hope the Mark Trumbo stands out there that listen to your podcast.
All two of you.
Darren, all two, Mark and whoever else, his family. And then Darren O'Day, who he was a reliever for the Orioles.
I think
don't know
he's
where
with
he is now.
the Braves right now.
Yeah, great. Such a nice dude. A great nice guy. And he was probably the person that I was the happiest to see like actually make it to the big leagues. So.
Yeah, he's with the Braves. 37 years old. Good for him. Awesome.
Nice.
So we already talked about kind of a good idea of why you like this team so much, but there's anything specific? I know you talked about a lot with like going to games with your dad growing up.
Yeah, I think Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine, whatever you want to call it. It's just like it's a super special place to me. There's a lot of things that have happened in my life, both good and bad, that just so happen to be at Dodger Stadium. I won't go into too much detail, but it really just comes down to like family memories that are there. Like my first autograph, first time going to a game. We go there for Father's Day pretty frequently as well, so I was like even more deeply associated with my family. And it's like not the one thing, because we all love sports in general, but like it's something that my brother, my dad, and we all have in common, and that's, if you know the three of us, that's pretty kind of spectacular that we have anything in common. So it's good. It's a nice common bond. So really, it just comes down to family and the memories I have with that team and just in general.
You know, we were kind of talking about that a little bit with our guest last week, another A's fan, but how
there's so many of you guys. I never realized that until I met Julio, and then people just kind of started coming out of like the woodwork.
They're my offspring.
The past 3 years, they're coming out the woodwork. But there's a very small hardcore crew of us that we stick tight together.
When Ronny met me, that was when we're kind of like at our peak, and then they blew they blew it in 2014, and then it was just 2014. The dark ages.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that on this podcast.
That's the real tragedy of this year. Is like, I mean, we would have gone to these games for sure if there was fans in the crowd. We would have been there.
Well, just one second. It's just, I just want to say like how connected small childhood memories that really, like, in hindsight, you look back, like if I was an adult, I probably wouldn't think too much about it. Like, you know, going to a game with my uncle, like, cool, it was probably just another tailgate with him, but like. but like to me as a kid, when you're having such a great time and you know you enjoy little things like that, because one, obviously your intelligence isn't as developed and you're not as experienced, but like how important those memories are, and like how places, like the locations where you experience those just mean so much. It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of philosophically very interesting and very like fun, you know, to think about things like that. Like I was talking to my buddy Jackson this week, and first ever Raider game I went to, him and his dad took me to it, and his dad had seats in the black hole. We sat in the black hole, and this is when the Raiders were shit, which is always so pretty obvious. And it was like this really close game against like a really shitty team too. I think it was like the Bengals or something, and it came down to the last possession. It was like a really close game the entire game. It was like a pretty high scoring game. Went to like 20, 27 points. And I just remember just how important it was, and it wasn't important to the Raiders season because they ended up being like 5-12 or 5-11, but like the game was so intense, so much fun, and that game like made me a Raider fan because I just had so much fun at this game, and it's just like his dad probably had been to a million of those games, but like for me, it's just it matters so much to me because I was there, I experienced it. It was my first football game. Like I don't know, little things like that. It's just kind of it's a fun little like correlation that all of our guests have kind of had.
It's awesome. I think like more than most sports, I think baseball relies a lot on that. I guess like I don't know. I guess like I use my girlfriend as an example.
Big time.
Yeah, exactly. I use like my girlfriend when she grew up. She didn't go to any sporting events. She didn't like follow any team. She knew like sports existed and she knew who they were, but she doesn't have that like. I think that's like where real fandom comes from, is that bond.
Yeah.
And I think like especially with baseball, I think as you get older, it's harder to like grab that for people. I think we're lucky because we like literally had a grandfather down to us this like love for this game, but a lot of people don't have that, and it hurts because I wish they did, because I wouldn't trade like my baseball memories being at the Dodger games, being at the minor league stadium. Like that's I can't explain like my childhood without talking about that. So it's such a like you mentioned, such a family thing, and it's such like a nice thing to get passed down. And it sucks that baseball is kind of not having that right now. There's not a lot of people like grabbing onto it.
Viewership is actually up this year. I don't know if it's because it's the COVID world and we're all stuck inside and watching, but like we talked about this a few weeks ago on one of our episodes, that the A's have actually been like one of the highest growing TV viewership, I think, in all of baseball actually.
Nice. You want to know who was number 2 though? The Los Angeles Dodgers.
There we go. And it's impossible to watch Dodger games.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But I was going to say, Chris, it's funny that that's your memory of your first Raider game. My first Raider game, I think, was like late 90s. My dad was a season ticket holder. And I just remember a gigantic brawl between like a Raider fan and a Jets fan, and they're rolling down aisles, and like there was these two women.
Of course, as a Jets fan.
Yeah, and there was these two women who sat behind my dad, who were season ticket holders, and sat by them for years. And they were just like, "Oh Lord, no! Somebody stop him!" It's a fantastic sight. But
that
was my first Raider game. And I was like, "Cool."
I watched a man die, and I knew I had to be a Raiders fan.
Games where people have been stabbed. I'm like, "Oh, I didn't see it. Good thing it wasn't there."
So that was former Oakland Raiders minute on this week's episode of the Tailgate Podcast.
But I love that you brought up like just Dodger Stadium. I think Chris and I can really agree with this. Is coming from the Bay Area, Dodger Stadium gets so much hate because it is the Dodgers, because all this. But to me, I've been to Fenway, I've been to the Tokyo Dome, I've been to AT&T. Dodger Stadium's like in my top 3 favorite stadiums.
It's the second most beautiful ballpark I've ever been to.
Traffic, look, getting in and out.
What's the
fucking worst?
Fenway.
I got on it.
Fenway.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Fenway in retrospective.
I've only seen Fenway covered in snow, so I can't like. That looked nice.
Dodger, once you're actually in your seat, and I don't think there's many better views in baseball.
And let me clarify. I in terms of like just beautiful like structure and like history and like just for the time that it was built, just very like architecture. Like it's just a beautiful ballpark, and like the color design and everything like that, and where it's positioned. In Los Angeles too, up on Griffith Park, up in the hills. It's just beautiful. So it's like Fenway was definitely number 1. I've been to a lot of ballparks. Been to Petco. Petco's really nice too. I've obviously been to AT&T. AT&T's really nice too. If in terms of like the experience of just going to a ball game, not like sitting down watching a game, but like if I want to do all these things and literally not watch a single second of the baseball game, like be entertained, like if I wanted to take a date to a game, like it would be AT&T or Petco. But in terms of I want to sit down, enjoy a baseball game, and just take in like the history of the sport and like everything about it, it's Fenway number 1, and then just Dodger Stadium number 2 easily. And I've been to Yankee Stadium too. I've been to a bunch of places, but yeah.
I don't like the way old Yankee Stadium or
new. I've never been to old. I didn't go to old, unfortunately, but
me
new.
either. I don't like the outside of Yankee Stadium is. I don't like.
I've heard a lot of complaints.
I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah. It's just like it looks like almost intimidating. It's just like tall and gray.
It's very corporate now too.
Like,
I drove by Citi Field. That looked cool.
I've been to Citi Field. I like it.
Citi Field was nice. Citi Field was nice. It's in the middle of nowhere though. Kind of sucks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's what I was gonna get at. Is like the parks you brought up, like Fenway, like Wrigley, Petco, AT&T, Dodger Stadium. Like the beauty is that they're kind of like built into the cities that they're in, so it feels like part of it. Yeah. That city part. Yeah. It feels like. I mean, that's why I just despise Angel Stadium. It's just in the middle of a parking lot, and it sounds like they're gonna change it. Like they're supposed to renovate it or whatever.
They already kind of are. Like they're building a lot of development around that area.
It's just so gross to drive by, and it's just cement.
Well, I swear we'll have to bring you back one episode where we're just gonna do in the off season just stadium talk, because I think between the three of us, I think we've probably been to almost
underrated Cleveland Stadium. I can't remember what it's called.
I remember a Progressive Field. Yeah,
Progressive Field, big fan.
But I will say, the one thing I do like about Angel Stadium, I love driving by it and seeing the halo lit up, and it's like, all right, they won. That's cool. That's awesome.
That is cool.
All right.
That's cool. It doesn't happen.
It's fucking lame.
Yeah, fuck them.
It's fucking lame. No, it's fucking lame.
All right. So, back to some.
I'm glad we skipped the Coliseum and all this talk. By the way,
we
just didn't.
It doesn't take a fucking like we're A's fans. We're nostalgic to it, but it doesn't take a fucking genius to know it's the shittiest stadium in baseball.
I bought the ugliest hat I ever bought at an A's game in honor of how ugly that stadium was. I was like, I need to remember.
It's a turd, but there's not many better baseball experience in terms of fandom and the excitement of it. Like the Coliseum.
No.
I agree.
No.
All right, so back to Dodger talk. This is a Dodger podcast right now.
I think Dodger Talk's trademarked. You can't say that.
Dodgers.
Like, sued. Speaking calling my lawyer right now.
Do you have
getting to know the Dodgers?
Getting to know the Dodgers. Do you have a favorite? There's a lot of stuff that's happened over the last 10 years, 20 years, really, of Dodgers. But do you have something that really stands out to you as your favorite Dodger moment as a whole? And then favorite game or experience you had in person?
My favorite experience, I don't know if you were there, Julio, because I was hammered. So you probably weren't there.
Is Julio never there when you're hammered? I'm very confused.
No, I can't remember if Julio's there. I know the times I've been hammered.
We don't get hammered together.
I don't know him like that.
No. Straight edge now. No, there was a game where they were playing the Giants, and I mean, living in California, I think you guys know this, there's Dodger and Giants fans everywhere, so especially where me and Julio used to work, we tons of Giants fans there. We got a group of like 20, and it was split down the middle, 10 and 10, like Dodger fans, Giant fans. We sat as high up, because we didn't have money back then, sat up as high as we could in Dodger Stadium, which is pretty high. You have to climb all the steps and everything. And we were just drinking the whole time. The game went, don't quote me on this, and I can't go back and find it, but the game went like 16 innings, like enough to the point where they kept, like, we made a friend and they kept selling us alcohol when they shouldn't have. And like it got to the point where like Giants fans, Dodger fans, we were just like, our group, we were just rooting for the game to end. We were just like, please, anybody win. But that was a good moment, because you hear so much hate about, like, a good recent moment at least, because you hear so much hate about Giants and Dodger fans, and that's for sure real. But it was a nice moment to just kind of like put that aside and like have that hatred be like mutual, but like fun in a way, right? Like when it's with people you know, it's less like
fun-spirited shit talk.
Yeah, exactly, and less like actually trying to beat the shit out of people at like a Raiders game, like Julio's family. Apparently.
It was me. I was the one dealing the justice.
The other memory, like the best memory recently, I'm so superstitious, especially when it comes to baseball, and that's partially because I was a bat boy. And I'm going to go on a little tangent here, but one time as a bat boy, I cleaned up the on deck circle before the game ended, and like because we were up like 3-4 runs, and I was like, it's over. And the other team came back and won, and one of the players on the team like screamed at me. Like actually got mad at me. Like, he's like, you don't pack up until the game is completely over. Like I mean, he's probably more superstitious than I am, but that put that in me to the point where like even today, like I have like a national anthem routine I go through. But one of the superstitions is I will not watch in person in the same room a Dodger game with my dad because it's absolutely the worst experience of my life. It's always bad. I'm an optimistic sports fan. I'm an optimistic sports fan, and he is the most pessimistic sports fan I've ever met. It'll be top of the first and a ball like just outside. And he's like, it's over. Can't throw strikes. Don't need to. I can't watch this. I can't watch this. And he's like that with every sport.
Yeah.
But baseball, because the Dodgers are like, that's his team. He likes the Lakers. He didn't really have after the Rams left the first time, he didn't really have a football team, but he roots like that for fantasy football. But the Dodgers, it's the worst. Mm-hmm. It's just, so I won't watch the game with him. So there was I want to say, it had to be the first World Series recently, the one against the
Cheaters. The Asterisks.
Yes, the one against the trash cans. Was that the one where one of the games went like super?
Yeah,
extra
I think
innings?
that was was that the Justin Turner hit a walk-off? Right?
16. It was 16 innings, and Nathan Eovaldi came in the 8th inning.
No. That was Red Sox. I think.
Yes, that was Red Sox.
That's right.
I think you're right. It was the Turner hit.
Yeah, Astros is right.
Yeah. Either way, at that time I was like staying with my parents because I was in between places, and I pulled up, and I think it was like the 9th or 10th inning. It might have just been like the 10th or 11th inning, and I was like, I can't go inside. It's bad luck. I know my dad's up watching the game, and he's gonna make me watch it with him, and I can't say no. He's my dad. And he's like, I'm like, I can't do that. So I parked outside my house, and I just listening to the game on the radio, and it's late, obviously, and I just fall asleep, like just because it's late. I'm tired. I just worked like a full shift. I fall asleep in like the 11th, wake up in like the 14th, or like the end of 14th, 15th, whenever the game. Like I woke up just in time to like for the hit to happen to win the game. Like I listened to that inning, and I go inside, and my dad's like still awake, and he's like, "You were outside. Like, why were you outside just sitting in your car?" And I was like, I can't watch the game with you. It's bad luck. I was like, it worked, didn't it? I was like, I can't watch the game with you. So yeah, I slept in my car listening to Dodgers World Series games.
I was gonna ask, so is he gonna listen to this podcast, and does he know that you can't watch the games with him? Like, is he gonna find out by listening to this?
No, he'll be a little sad that I can't, but he knows I can't. Like, yeah. I'm old enough now that he knows. It's been that way forever.
Any paranoid baseball, because I think every baseball fan is paranoid in one way or another. He'd be like, I get it.
He gets it.
So like my mom is the opposite, and I love watching games with her because of that. So my mom is like the biggest A's fan, just bigger A's fan than me and Julio, damn near. Like in terms of like watching the team, following, and like she's like so optimistic. Like I think it's because of like our 2012 team that would like always walk off. Like anytime we were down in a game, like it just felt like we would come back. I know you probably don't know this, but just for the listeners, ever since then, she just like, we'll be down by like 7 runs. She'll be like, it's okay. This is what we do. We'll come back. And it's just like, all right, cool. It's so kind of encouraging. It's like, it's kind of funny. It's the opposite.
Yeah. I much prefer that other than like, the Dodgers could be up 3-0 and walk one guy. And God forbid it's the leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
My dad will blow a gasket. It's over. So you can't handle it. You can't handle it.
I would be like frustrated to know about that too. I get it.
Yeah, there's frustration, but then there's like the game's over, the season's over. I can't do it anymore.
So what about the best game you saw?
Oh no, with the Drunken Giants game.
Yeah, Drunken Giants game is probably the best recent game. There's been so many. I mean, the one I also cherish recently is my boss is also a big Dodgers fan, and the Mets were in town. And we had a guy because our home company is in New York, but this guy, one of our sales guys, came out and he's a Mets fan, and it just so happened the Mets were playing the Dodgers, and the Mets were leading from like the first inning, just like started leading from the beginning, and like this Mets fan is so stoked, he's so excited because I consider the Mets the A's of the East Coast. They just.
That's not a.
So, don't look at me like that, Julio.
No,
it's not bad, right?
You're accurate.
Not a bad comparison. No, not at all.
But he's so excited. He's like, "Oh, we're beating the Dodgers in their own stadium. It's gonna happen." And then the Dodgers score four runs in the bottom of the 9th, including like a walk-off home run. And I just saw like I saw years of Mets fandom like wash over his face.
No, that's
like
actually more accurate than you would think, Julio, because like the Mets are also always kind of good too. You know, they always have runs.
Yeah.
Just good enough to have hope.
I think if they weren't in New York, they would probably be considered a little less of a joke. But because they're in the second team, even though they've been to 2 World Series in the last 20 years, they've had multiple Cy Young winners and all that stuff. I like that. I like that. All right, so next topic. Dodgers are obviously, if you're not paying attention to the rest of baseball besides the Oakland A's, the Dodgers are killing it right now. They are 35-15. Chris pointed out earlier they're the first team to clinch a playoff spot. They have a staggering run differential of 102 runs.
It's like not even fair.
The next closest
I didn't even know that. That's
the next
ridiculous.
closest team is tied between the Chicago White Sox and the San Diego Padres at 79. In other words, the Dodgers are really, 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 really good. If there are any chinks in the Dodgers' armor, though, what would they be?
Were we surprised that the White Sox are this good? I'm just throwing that out there.
No, me and Julio in our first episode and also in a preview podcast for the MLB season and on my personal podcast, we talked about like teams to look out for, and the White Sox were one of them because they've been building this team for the past 5 years, just collecting prospects after prospects after prospects. And
that's true. I guess I didn't expect them to lead the division. I mean, the extended playoffs, I guess I expected them to be.
Cleveland's pretty close, so and so are the Twins. So
the Twins.
We'll see how it ends up, but yeah.
Yeah. As far as like issues the Dodgers have, the glaring one is it's like late inning relief pitching.
Really?
Like Jansen is I don't know, especially maybe I'm just recency bias over the last like week, but every time like unless how big is that run differential? You said 122? Somewhere around.
Isn't Kenley Jansen leading the league?
102.
He is, but that's because the Dodgers always have the lead. But every time he pitches, I get worried. Unless it's like a 3 to 4 run lead, I'm worried. Like especially, I don't know if you caught any of the Padres. He didn't close the game out today. That's my knowledge.
Who was it? Trinan?
No, Baez came in and closed the game out.
The slowest pitcher in the history of baseball.
Yes, exactly.
I hate watching games where he pitches. Or innings. It's so frustrating.
But yesterday's game, Dodgers were up like I want to say I don't know. I can pull up the box score, but they're up, and this might also be a Padres issue because the Padres are a very scary team. Mm-hmm. But it's just he's not the Jansen of a few years ago. He gives up a lot more hits than he normally did. I think if the Dodgers didn't score 100 runs per game, like it'd be a bigger issue, and that issue definitely becomes more prominent and more pronounced as you get into playoff baseball. Is can you close games out? That's scary.
Quick stat check. So he's third. He has 11 saves. Number 2 is Brad Hand, and number 1 is Liam Hendricks of the Oakland A's. Just want to throw that in there. Sorry, go ahead, Julio.
Self plug. Yeah, it's and the thing is too, like I think it's weird. I think the common thing amongst baseball in general, almost every year, is a shaky bullpen. So like everyone's always scared, except for this year. Is like the A's bullpen. We're not really. That's the one thing we feel confident in. So who knows, that might be a better.
No, I think we've had 4 bad innings all season. It's great.
It's great. Obviously, so again, back to kind of more a little bit about the Dodgers. We know about Mookie and Cody Bellinger. They're going to be perennial MVP candidates for years to come. Clayton Kershaw,
2 of the top 5 players in the league.
How great is that? That somebody the big MLB The Show player in the sky did a fantasy trade and got Mookie Betts on this team, and like didn't automatically like quit, didn't like start.
And the thing is, Alex Verdugo's actually playing pretty good in Boston, but it's like he's not Mookie Betts. Yeah,
he's not Mookie Betts.
Clayton Kershaw is going to be at least a top 5 Cy Young candidate. He's been pitching lights out.
Huge comeback year.
Huge comeback year, right. Especially with the kind of the question marks around the rotation. But is there something that like the person who's not an everyday fan or doesn't really notice that the Dodgers, somebody specifically on the Dodgers is great at, or the team as a whole is great at?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but I don't know if people who don't watch the Dodgers don't, like, they probably don't get to see it firsthand, but that lineup is so stacked and that team is so deep that, like, at the beginning of the year, like, it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Bellinger, like, got off to a really slow start, and it did not matter. And, like, that's the beauty of having this kind of deep of a team, and especially, like, hitting-wise, is you can afford to have that happen. And I don't know if, like, not to say, like, that. I mean, obviously the Dodgers the last handful of years have great lineups and can hit the crap out of the ball. But this year it just feels like if somebody's slacking, there's somebody there that's picking it up, or like the other half of the lineup is picking it up. So Bellinger can afford to kind of like disappear for a little bit. If Mookie stops hitting, somebody else is picking it up. There's not really like a soft spot in that lineup that you can really pick away at. I think
if you're the opposing pitcher, like, and you see Mookie, Bellinger, Muncy, I don't know,
Turner back now,
Seager coming up the lineup, like, who are you pitching around?
Exactly.
To get to the next guy, and you're like, shit, I can't pitch around this guy. Like, all right, I guess I just gotta go after all three of them, and it's just like, fuck, dude, like, it's just
it's unrelenting, and that's really I feel like where that big run differential comes from is there's no breaks.
100%.
So I mean that's pretty obvious if you look at the stats. I mean I just love the starting rotation for them too, and
really,
I mean, I like it. I don't know why. I just really like it. I think Trevor May pitched really well today. If anything,
a lot of promise with him, but I feel like he was not living up to expectations. But at the same time, he got brought up earlier than expected, so it's just kind of like, all right, kid, here you go. Let's throw you into the wolves. Like, time to go, bro.
And he's been doing all right. I mean, you guys are the experts, and I have not been paying all that much attention the last like week or so, but I don't even like. What's the deal with Walker Buehler? Like, he's not even pitching.
Well, he's been hurt.
Like, he's been hurt. But how hurt is he? Because that's another wrinkle that we haven't even thought of. It's like he's got to come. He's preferably going to come back at some point.
This actually leads up to the follow-up question, which was like, right now, I think, at least from an outsider's perspective, I think the one thing, if we had to point out what's a kind of a iffy thing, is their rotation. Because once you get especially with Buehler hurt, once you get past Kershaw, if you're in a 3-game series, you're going to be relying on Dustin May or Julio Urias or Tony Goslin, who these are all guys who they have postseason experience. A few of these guys have pitched in the World Series, but now that they're full-time starters, we don't really see what they're not really pitching at their expectations of what we've been hearing for years about from people like you and other Dodger fans who've been hyping these guys up. So, like, do you think in the future these guys will become the stars that they could be, or?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, I think Buehler being hurt and not pitching really affects that, because I think that's another, like, another spot in the rotation you don't have to worry about. But yeah, I think as the years go on, these guys are going to settle in. I think, like I said, I'm blanking on the name
this
now.
season's such an experiment.
Trevor May. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This year, it's funny because I think this year was built for teams like the A's and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
That are really they're kind of, they go with like excitement.
They're fluid.
They kind of like go on like that.
They can change when you need them to.
Mm-hmm. But it also,
and that's a big reason why they didn't make any moves towards like big pitchers in the offseason like they have in the past, like with signing Rich Hill and these guys. It's like, we got these guys in the wings who are just ready to go. So like,
yeah, I think I can see. I mean, it feels like we're picking a weak point on a team that, like, that's still the weakest point on the Dodgers. You know, like if that's the weak point, is that the rotation is questionable, not bad, just questionable. Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, kind of like a gun to your head situation, but it's not the worst it's been. Yeah.
It's an okay thing to have when your offense is as productive as it is, where it's like, cool, my starter is going to give up 4 runs. My team can easily score 6.
But we scored 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so, that's not great.
But how long does that last? That's the big worry.
That too.
That's the concern, I guess.
That's too. Especially after seeing what happened last year with the Nationals, like that. Teams can easily lose that. It's just a scary thing. Now, back to the playoff talk. If this team is going to, because I think the expectations across the media and baseball and across baseball fans is this team's probably going to go to the World Series and they have a good chance of winning it. So what do you think has to go right for them to do this, to live up to the expectations of what they are?
Well, first off, I'm looking at the playoff picture right now, and that's the most terrifying thing ever, is that it's a Dodgers 1 seed and a Giants 8 seed. That seems like misery written all over every Dodgers fan.
Why is that?
All time. That's just bad voodoo, man. I can imagine.
I feel like if I'm a Dodger fan, I'd be happy.
Best
like,
of three.
The Giants, cool.
No,
they're a one-man team.
But a best of 3 series against your most hated rival. You're the by far and away favorite.
Yeah.
All 3 games in your home park. Yeah. The butts of the Dodgers would be clenched, and the Giants have nothing to worry about. They were supposed to be awful, and the fact that they're like in the like it's them, the Reds, Colorado's not too far behind.
I mean, they kind of are bad. It's just
they're
expanded
bad, but
playoffs.
Yeah, there's 8. Yeah, I just don't want. If I had any choice, I would not play the Giants.
But at the same time, would you rather play the Giants with that rotation, that lineup, or Cincinnati sneaks in and all of a sudden you're going against Trevor Bauer, Sonny Gray, and then Luis Castillo?
Think about it, dude. With the Giants, it's okay, cool. Yeah, Mike Yastrzemski and Wilmer Flores, and that's it. That's pretty much their whole team.
I think I'm just scared of what happens when the Dodgers lose that series 2-1. And I have to open up Twitter, and I have to, like, see people, and I have to just, like, ooh, it's 2020, it's an even year. The whole even year crap starts all over again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd rather lose. But you're right, because, like, the Reds have the same thing the Nationals did last year, just, like, pitchers. They're just going to throw your arm until it's disintegrated. And we're going to do, like, a 3-game series. That's... anything could happen. It's awful. I
was gonna say we talked about this earlier, but Chris and I, that's kind of a reason why I don't like this 16-team playoff perspective, because it's just, yeah, sure, the zaniness of an 8 seed advancing, it's fun in any other sport, but it's like in baseball, the reality is in every other sport that doesn't happen. Rarely does that happen. Hockey, yes,
it happens all the time in hockey.
Baseball, that's gonna happen every year. That's going to happen every single year. Knock on wood if you're with me. Because both of our teams are probably going to... Actually, I think we'll see about the A's.
I before like this, I was confused when the beginning of the season started because I heard something and then it got corrected to like 1v8, but I could have swore I saw somewhere where like the top seed like picked like who they were going to play. Like that was in talks,
was a conversation,
right?
But that was a conversation.
That
was a conversation when it was 14 team playoff.
Oh, that makes sense. Because then
when they went to 16, they developed this.
It's easier this
format,
way. Yeah. I just the Giants just scare me because of like the history and the I don't want to be the next Clippers.
It's more the culture of it.
Nobody wants to be. It's a culture thing for sure,
as opposed to like the actual like game of like down the game type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. To answer your question more specifically, what needs to happen? The bats can't go cold. I think Roberts needs to get outside of his head a little bit. I think sometimes he tries the big game. He tries the big brain.
That guy
all
is
the time
such a just slave to the analytics. It's insane.
Sabermetrics.
It's insane.
He truly is.
Like in the World Series 3 years ago, Rich Hill's pitching the game of his life and he pulls him out in the 6th inning. And Rich Hill's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, leave me in." And then he brings in, I forgot who it was, and gives up like 3 runs in that inning. You're just like, "What the?" And they lose the game. You're like, "Dude, I get it. I understand that there's numbers to it, but we're in the playoffs. Like, analytics go out the door in the playoffs a little bit."
Yeah, you got to lead with your heart a little bit in the playoffs.
At the same time, who was the Boston Red Sox manager, Julio?
The one last year?
No, in 2003.
Grady Little.
Oh.
Grady
Former
Little,
Dodger
who yeah, that's right, who left Pedro in and then kind of like because he went with his gut. So I mean, it's a happy medium.
I mean, this is like what I've been trying to, especially with my dad when he gets super frustrated, and he's like, the season's a failure. It's crazy because I mean, what team honestly wouldn't want like Rogers, like, or Roberts rather? You've gone to the World Series twice. You've lost it. That sucks. You lost last year to the team that ended up winning the World Series. Like, it sucks, but like, you're right there. Like, you're on the door.
Yeah.
But like, it sucks when you're supposed to open the door. You're supposed to shatter the door open, and that's what a lot of fans are frustrated with now. But people were like, we gotta fire Dave, and I'm like, why?
I don't know, man.
We're always in the conversation.
When your front office is just buying every single player who's ever lived, like, it's a little bit easier to be a manager and that successful, in my opinion. It's like the Joe Madden effect of the 2016 Cubs. Like I could have managed that team and won a World Series. Like, that's how stacked they were. You know, like,
Joel
Madden
could have managed that World Series.
You're not. But you're not wrong. But like, why are you going to roll the dice on?
Yeah, I mean, why move on? Like,
you know?
Yeah.
It's not like you're like, if we lost in the first round again this year, then maybe there's a conversation that needs to happen. But if you go to the World Series and you lose Game 7, or you go up against a Red Sox team that was just not
that was
lose,
cheating too.
Yeah, it was like, you can be upset, you can be frustrated, but what manager are you going to bring in like that is going to do like? Is there somebody that's like, I can get that next half step forward to the championship?
No, probably not.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know what the point of like the change is, right? Like, you gotta, like I said, if we go out in the first round again, or like we completely collapse at some point here, like, then maybe. But I mean, I don't know what you would see at the end of this year, because this year's such an anomaly. I don't know what like personnel changes you'd really make, like, on any team. Really, like, how do you judge your team after like? You spent all these years building up for like over 160 games, and you only get 60. Like,
yeah,
how can you really judge anything? So it'll be interesting to see what the offseason looks like. But yeah, bats can't go cold. We have to be able to close games out, and Roberts has to not fully, just a little bit, go with his heart instead of his head sometimes.
Yeah,
just a little bit. You know,
good stuff.
We're right there.
Good stuff. All right, final question, and it's not about the Dodgers. As somebody who doesn't follow the Oakland A's, and probably follows it because of shit I say, what?
I don't listen to anything you say.
Good. That's probably a good thing.
For you.
So, what do you know about the team? How do you feel about the team as a whole? And do you see this thing, like the thing that we got going on, like Dodgers A's? Is this a potential World Series matchup in your mind, from what you know?
I would love that. Wouldn't that be awesome? Because I would love it, mainly because I hate the Giants.
I would love it.
I'd be so stressed.
You would hate.
I'd be stressed the fuck out.
Yeah, but
I'll be honest with you.
Take yourself out of there. You're gonna hate the fact that your team's
I'd love
in the
it if I'm in the World Series, but that's
that.
gonna be one of the most stressful weeks of my life if it's the.
But
Dodgers.
Julio, isn't that the fun of watching this team play baseball? Is like it's just how stressful it is sometimes, but then how rewarding it can be if like everything works out, which normally it doesn't. But if everything does work out, like how much fun and like enjoyment you get out of it.
Yeah, but
but yeah, it's. I mean, the A's have always been like, I've never had any ill will towards the A's. I mean, I bet you, like, my dad was at the Gibson game. So
no way, that's like, crazy.
Yeah, so he never hugged so many strangers. But so I mean, like, maybe old Dodger fans might have some like resentment to the A's, but to me, the A's have always been like just such a fun time. And you guys, like, this year, it just, like I said, I think the season was built for you guys because you guys always get off to such good starts and you kind of have it together. And then you kind of like outsider's perspective, right? You get off to a really good start, and then like the middle part of the season's kind of like a lull, and then you guys, like, it usually looks like, at least recently, you're like always kind of in that wild card like hunt when the A's aren't cheating, which doesn't help anybody. But you guys like always right there, or you get in and you're kind of dangerous. Like, was it last year? I don't understand why you guys didn't pitch a starting pitcher instead of going like full.
Oh,
bullpen.
that
was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, but
yeah,
we don't talk
right?
about that anymore.
Don't understand that. But no, I like, if I'm rooting for an AL team, it's all, and this was before Julio, but it's only been like progressed with Julio. It's like, I'm rooting for the A's. Like,
an all California series would be so much fun for us, and ESPN would hate it.
ESPN LA would love it.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's also in these times of COVID, and since the Angels are bad, and we don't talk about the Giants, it's the only like healthy, responsible thing to do. Less travel, keep the teams close. I think MLB should actually just make it happen. Whatever, just make it A's Dodgers. We're close. They don't have to travel all that far.
They're doing a bubble for the playoffs. They approved it already.
Yeah, the bubble should be Oakland and Los Angeles playing each other.
I mean, if that ends up happening and they do meet, they should just be like, you know what? Screw
Let's
Texas.
just play in Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
Let's just play in California. I mean,
Wait, where's the inform me?
So the bubble for the NL teams throughout the playoffs after the opening round will be in Texas. They'll be playing in Arlington and Houston. For the American League, it'll be you look disgusted. American League is going to be Dodger Stadium and Petco. And then
we don't need to go over this too in depth on the podcast because we covered it earlier in the podcast. But
World Series is in
basically
Texas.
Basically, National League is gonna be playing in Texas, and then the American League is gonna be playing in Southern California, and then they meet for the World Series in Texas.
Sure. yeah. Hooray! Why would you not just flip those? But whatever. I guess there's AL teams in California too. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, but I would love to see that. One, because it'd be fun to talk to you guys during it. I know a lot of A's fans. I don't really care about. I don't want any other AL team to succeed. It'd be funny to watch Giants fans be so mad that it's the A's and Dodgers. That would be worth it alone. And if going back to it, if the Dodgers were to lose another World Series and break the hearts of so many people, and just shatter my poor family, I would hope that it was with the
one
A's.
thing I've always said, why I like Dodger fans so much. We both hate the same teams. We both hate the Dodgers, we both hate the Giants. We both hate the Angels. So that's going to pretty be it for this. Ronnie, do you have anything you'd like to plug while you're here?
No.
Fantastic.
I got nothing to plug. I'm just thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks for coming, Ronnie.
Yeah, this was awesome. We're glad to bring it back on some baseball talk, but we're going to take one more little break for the show, and we'll be back in just a moment.
All right, welcome back, everybody. That was a fun conversation, Julio. I'm really glad we had Ronnie on. He's a good talk, a good hang.
And he didn't stab any of us, so that's great. Way to go, Dodger
That's true.
fans.
You know, that's always a win with Dodger fans. Just kidding. All right, cool. Let's preview the coming week. All right, so this week coming up, we face the Giants from from the 18th to the 20th. Ooh, excuse me. And then, of course, we just talked about in the last segment. We play the Dodgers the 22nd through the 24th. Obviously, we already previewed that, so we can just preview the Giants series, I guess. All three games are in Oakland, which I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really too worried about the series.
Chris Bassett goes on Friday, so there goes your guy.
Yeah, my guy goes on Friday. On Saturday, no probable starter yet.
I think they were kind of depending on where Frankie Montas is with his paternity leave.
I was gonna say it's TBD for all of them. It looks, or for Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. I mean, we alluded to it in the Dodgers in the segment with Ronnie. Like, they're a two-man team, you know. Like, I hope that we can come away with wins so we can close.
Brandon Belt's been killing it. Brandon Belt's been really good.
Dude, he does this all the time, Julio. He does this all the time. He has like a week string of just really good hitting, and then he goes back to underwhelming Brandon Belt bullshit. Yeah. Anyway, I just hope that we do it to close out the division and just be done with it, and then not have to worry about that. You know, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And then the Dodgers series just kind of like, you know, fun to see what could be.
I think the cool thing we have to look forward to with both these series, because let's be real, if things go right, there's not going to be a lot of stuff to really talk about with the series, because the A's could potentially clinch the division by the end of the Giants series. So by the time we get to the Dodgers, we'll see what happens. But the cool thing is, a few of these games with the Giants and the Dodgers will be on national TV, which is great. Anytime days can get some national love, we are 1,000% on board with it. Even if the pre-commercial segments are showing the Golden Gate Bridge, and that is not in Oakland, but I'll take it. Cool.
And Julio, what I think we texted about this, right? What is it? It's 4 games. So Saturday it's on MLB Network.
Or Saturday is MLB Network or Fox, one of those two.
Saturday is MLB. I mean, according to the MLB app, it's on MLB Network.
And Sunday's ESPN.
Sunday is on ESPN. It's a day game, and then I think it's Tuesday is on Fox. Tuesday's on ESPN. Sorry, against the Dodgers. Wednesday's nothing. Thursday, it's on MLB Network again. I think is it Mariners?
And the closing series.
Maybe
will be
it's
the
a
Mariners.
series after that. Yeah, I think they have a game. One of those games is on Fox. I don't know. We have a lot of national TV games coming up. So if you can't find the A's on Comcast Sportsnet California, tune over to MLB Network or ESPN because that's where the game is going to be.
Hey, fingers crossed. Our guy Matt Vasgersian, Bay Area native, huge Oakland A's fan.
That would be cool.
If he calls the game on Sunday, I'll drop watching football to go listen to him talk some A's.
He would love that too. I bet he would be very giddy about that.
Plus the A's play Monday night, or the Raiders play Monday night, so I can skip on that.
That's a good point. Again, and we've talked about this before in the podcast too. After the numbers came out that we were the number one increase in viewership, the MLB scheduled like 8 games immediately. They flexed the A's into national TV games, so that's why we're seeing a lot of those.
But by another thing to point out too, with this Dodgers series, we'll see how hard teams are going to be fighting for, because again, this is the first time we're doing this, how hard the A's and the Dodgers will be fighting to be the 1 seed or the higher seed. The likelihood is by halfway through that series, they're going to know where they're going to be at, and they're just going to let dudes play. Don't be shocked if you see like Edwin Rios and Kike starting for the Dodgers, or seeing like Machine.
Dalton Jeffries might get another one.
Don't be shocked if you see
no start. Yeah.
Unconventional guys who have been playing all the time in there, because by halfway through this series, they might not put their energy to something that's really not that worth playing for.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Julio, let's pick our Essential Tailgate Tools of the week for the coming week. Who do you got?
I'm opening up with my guy. We're creating a website for him. It's OliFans. Matt Olson.
We did it again. We picked the same one.
He has been struggling. Struggling without his BFF Matt Chapman.
Best bromance in MLB baseball.
Yes. If you watch the game, if you watch the game on Wednesday, struck out. I think there was something like he struck out he got some of the yips from Chappie, and he threw down his helmet in just anger. Defensively, he's still there. He made a fantastic play where he snagged a great ball at first, threw it over to third, and got the run out, which the runner had no reason to go to third. But in order to just restore his confidence, I think this is these next 2 series where he can really do it. If he can get a couple dingers against the Giants, not necessarily hit for like a big average because he's not a big average guy, and same thing with the Dodgers, restore that confidence in him, get ready for the postseason to know that he can be there. Because let's be real, he's kind of like we've talked about at the beginning of the season when like, oh, the A's offense really goes when Crush is going, yada, yada, yada. It's Matt Olson's kind of that guy now. He's obviously he's still hitting for power. He's got 13 home runs. He's in the top 5 in the AL for RBIs. Just he's not a consistent hitter. He's flirting with the Mendoza line around 200 average back and forth. He's still striking out a ton. He usually feasts on right-handed pitching, and it's just not there right now.
When he bombs, the whole team bombs. It feels like
exactly. So he could be somebody, especially with Biscotti being out, with Pinder being out, where the offense, at least what we're used to is our offense, is pretty much going to rely on power-wise. Marcus Canha and Olsen, he's got to step up to the plate because, let's be real, we don't want to go be playing in Chicago or Minnesota or anywhere. Finish out strong this season. Let's get this first series in Oakland. And then something we didn't really bring up earlier, if we make it into those next rounds, Dodger Stadium and Petco, huge pitcher parks. Very beneficial for the A's. I hope he can close out the season strong because we know how great he is. We are stands that Freddie Freeman's kind of proven he's the best first baseman in baseball, and you have him on your fantasy team. Yeah,
hands down.
He's hands down. Matt Olson's right there. And it just sucks because
if he can hit,
he just hasn't proven it consistently on the offensive side that he's there. But we know he's there. So Mark or Matt, sorry, Matt. Oh my God, I was thinking Mark Canha. Matt, finish out the season strong, baby.
No, I agree, and yeah, especially with Chap out and with Ramon not hitting very well, like him, Marcus, and Canha, it's just so important for them to get it going into the playoffs. All right, so mine is since you picked mine, I'm gonna pick another one. I'm gonna go with yours from last week, Sean Murphy.
Killer. Such a killer.
He's killing it right now. So the past 7 games, he's hitting .350. Only 4 strikeouts, 7 walks, 7 RBIs, and 3 home runs off 7 hits. He's just killing it. Those are 20 at bats. It's just keep it going. We need you, especially if you're going to keep hitting at the bottom of the lineup to bring some runs in and get some production. With Chap out, it's just we need him to stay hot going into the playoffs too, and to keep the repertoire with the pitchers going because it's working right now. The starters look good, and it's great. He's doing great.
I don't want to get. I'm whispering right now. I don't want to get our excitement up, but he also is reminding me of another rookie catcher from 10 years ago who has taken in his team into a playoff push. That his first actual name is Gerard, and he plays across the bay. I don't want to say it, but
it is looking
dude,
nice
let's
like
be
that.
real. I think Sean Murphy's probably our best hitter right now.
Yeah, I don't think we can compare him to a future Hall of Famer, but
not yet. Yeah. Well, Dusty Baker already is when he was calling him Johnny Bench.
That's right. That's a good point. All right, A's fans, I think that's going to do it for this week. Big thanks to Ronnie for coming on. Big thanks to Tyler Mack last week. We didn't thank her at the end of the episode for coming on and for making her picks. It was good. It was a good time. And also, I want to apologize to everybody for last week. I forgot to do this at the top of the episode. I need to do it now. I accidentally uploaded the wrong episode or the wrong thing up to our feed. I uploaded our theme song instead of the episode, so I apologize to our subscribers who listened to that and didn't get an update about the new episode coming up. Very sorry about that. If you want to listen to it, you can. It's old news now, but if you want to, it was a very good episode. This episode is twice as long as a reward. Again, I very much apologize. Bad technical moves by me.
And
yeah,
we're looking to do a mailbag episode in a couple weeks. Yeah. If you would like to send in a question to us and kind of get our own opinion, whether it's about the Oakland A's, whether it's something within baseball, or if you just want to kind of...
You can just send me, look, hey, I'm a single man. If you want to ask me about dating stuff, I will be open to that.
Don't ask about dating. We just want questions. Not working well. Or just, hey, what are you watching? What are you playing?
Or it is working well, if you think about it.
Sure. Yeah, there we go. But if you would like to ask a question to appear on a future episode, our email is towntailgatepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that email is towntailgatepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure when you do ask your question, please state your name, where your location is. We'd love to give your city a shout out, and give us your question you would like to ask us. We're open guys. We'll love to talk about. Obviously, we'll talk about Oakland A's. Anything else we want to talk about? If you want to hear more from us, we'll love to talk about it with y'all.
Yeah. So let's pack it up and let's head in. I think this week we can let's do an honorary tailgate at another ballpark since we had Ronny on. We're tailgating at the ballpark that you're not allowed to tailgate at because of too many gang fights. So we're tailgating at Dodger Stadium, but really we're kind of like just like down the street because you're not allowed to tailgate there.
I'm tailgating with the nice Alpine Duet IPA from San Diego. And also, just again, for those of you who are in the fires, please stay safe. We're all it sucks right now. I haven't really left my apartment at all in the last week because of how bad the air is. Thankfully, I've got some Oakland A's baseball to kind of keep that sanity. But yeah, I'm gonna try to sneak these into Dodger Stadium. Hopefully, I don't get busted by LAPD, but we'll make the best of it.
There it is. All right. Well, please subscribe. Please listen in. Please send in your questions because we want to do that mailbag. Thanks for listening. And last but not least, Julio.
Let's go, Oakland. See ya.
The Town Tailgate is an independently produced podcast. It is written and executive produced by this guy, Chris Madrigal, and my partner in crime, Julio Reynoso. It is sound mixed and edited by yours truly. Social media management and marketing is run by, once again, my partner, Julio Reynoso. And a special thanks and shout out to my brother, Larry Madrigal, for composing and producing our theme song, as well as graphic designing our album cover and artwork. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please tune in next week. Please subscribe. And last but not least, as we always say, let's go, Oakland.